Lesson 3. Data sources, historical and current. Hello and welcome to another lesson in which I will be talking about the data. And data is very important because, as the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. Therefore, high quality historical data is crucial if we want to have a good quality analysis. So if the input is bad, then we cannot expect that the output will be of good quality. That's why really having a quality data is crucial. In our application, in System Trader, apart from the current data, we also have the historical reference data, which allows us to go back in time to 1900. So basically for more than 100 years. But as I said, this is the historical data, and also we have the current data. And here we support 4 sources. The default one, Unicorn Data Services, is included in the application, meaning that it's a paid data, but if you pay for the license for System Trader, you don't have to pay anything extra on top of it. You just get access to over 70 stock exchanges all over the world, plus also certain asset classes like, for example, cryptocurrencies. And this is the default data because basically you can find there probably everything you need. But if you, for example, are investing on the American Stock Exchange or in Australia, you may go even further and get a very good quality data from these markets. And then you may be interested in using Norgate data from Australia. This is an extra paid data, but if you are really looking for a great data source, it may be worth to pay it, especially if you are investing using, for example, advanced equity momentum strategy, which will be discussed in one of the subsequent lessons. Then you have 2 free data sources. The first one is Stooq. It's a portal from which you can just get the data, and that mechanism of getting that data is built into the application, so you don't have to go on that portal. You just can enter the symbol you want to download and the application will do it for you. And it works in the similar fashion with Yahoo Finance, where basically you don't have to pay for the data. You can just download the data directly to your application from the application. And I will be explaining all this in a while. And also, if it happens that you cannot find the data of your choice in any of these sources here, you can also import data from external file, and I will show how to do it. Okay, so let's move to the application. And here we see the main screen of the application. And when it comes to data, all the operations you can do in regard to data are located in the data menu. So not a big surprise. And here we have a few buttons, so let's discuss them one by one. The most important one, and probably most often used, will be the System Trader, because this button allows you to get to the data from the Unicorn Data Services. This is a French company which is providing data to System Trader, and as I said, it supports more than 70 stock exchanges all over the world. So basically, you can find anything most likely you are looking for. For example, if you want to import some ETFs from the United States, you can just press import, then you have to select USA as the country, then you have to select the USA stocks and press next. Keep in mind that it may take a few seconds when you come to this, because basically certain markets are pretty big, like United States, so in order to load everything, it may take a bit longer. But okay, here we go. We see the list of all companies we have in United States, but also we may, for example, select ETF, and then we will see all the ETFs which are listed on the American stock exchanges. And if we want to, for example, import anything to our application, we can just select the interesting ETF and just press the button here to move it on the selected symbol, and then we can press next. Here we can say if we want to get the all available data or we want to only get the history from a certain date. And now you have to select group to which symbol will be imported. And the group, data group, can be seen as a kind of a folder in which you are storing the data. And when you install the application, there are a few, let's say, built-in or default groups which contain already some data, like, for example, stocks from Dow Jones Industrial Average, or some ETFs from Europe, or ETFs from United States. And we may add newly imported data into existing group, but we may also create a new one. So we have to just provide the name of such group, and it will be created. So it's like creating a new folder, and then the data will be inserted into that group. I will be not doing that now, but just to explain you the idea behind this, what the group is. So let's close it. Another possibility to import the data is import the indices. So for example, let's say that you are interested about importing all the data from a given index. And let's say that, for example, we want to import S&P 500, right? So we have over 500 stocks in such index. So it would be very, very time consuming to select one by one stock which we want to import to our application. So basically we can just select the index, and what it will do, it will import all the companies which are included in that index for us. So it's like a batch operation which will do it for us in a very quick time. Okay, so let's close it. And last, you can just update. So once you have some data already downloaded to your application, you can select which group you want to update. By the way, when it comes to updating the data, apart from doing that here, you can also do it directly in the settings, where you can basically say that you want to update data automatically for you. So you have to select the automatic update, and then you select which folder, which group you want to make updated once the application starts. It's very convenient because then you don't have to remember about updating it. Whenever you open application again, it will do this update in the background for you, so you will always have the latest data. Okay, let's go back to the data menu. So System Trader is using, as I said, Unicorn Data Services, and it's very, I think, good data source, because basically you will find here anything you need. So of course, you may need some time to search here for what you're looking for, but basically you can find anything you want. By the way, if you are looking for data like, for example, let's say currency, you have to select unknown, and then you may find commodities, cryptocurrencies, forex, also some bonds, indices. So if you cannot find anything under a country, or certain asset class is not really linked to any country, just select as a country unknown, and there you will find extra options. Okay, so this is it for the System Trader data. And now text. As the name says, you can import data from external file. So basically, once you click here, you have to select the folder which contains data with the quotes you want to import to the application. But it has to be in a certain format, and I will show you that format. So it has to be a text file, and it has to have at least 5 columns which are separated by comma. So you have date, and date may be in format like here, year, 2011, month, 05, and then the day, like here, the 31st. So this is the date. Then you have the open, high, low, close price. Why? Because when you open any, for example, chart, and it's a candle chart, basically, if let's say it's a daily chart, you will see 4 prices which construct such candle. You have the open price, which means the open of the day. then you have the close price, which means the closing price for the given day, and then you have the highest and the lowest price during that day. But of course, it can be day, but it can be also a month or some other interval. Here we can see it's a daily data, but you may have also monthly data. Then, for example, you will always have the last day of the month in each line. Here we have in each line a different day. So like here we have the May 31st, here we have the 1st of June, the 2nd of June, and so on. And also it may happen, like it happens actually here, that all the prices open, high, low, close are exactly the same. And especially when you are using, for example, monthly data, it may happen that you will have only one price for a given month, especially if we are using some data which goes really very far in the history, let's say for the last 100 years, then we may only have a single price for a month. It will be a monthly data. And then even if we have only one day, it's, let's say, close price, we also have to provide open, high, low, even if it's exactly the same, like here, 100, 100, 100, 100. And then each line, as I said, may be either day or week or a month, but it has to be in that format. And now once you have such data in the file, you can import it into the application, and you can select the folder in which you have such data. So for example, if you have, let's say, stocks, you may have in that folder more than one file, but for each file, or maybe let's put it the other way around. Each file covers a different stock, a different symbol. So if you want to import a number of symbols, you have to have a number of corresponding files. So you have to select the folder in which you want to import the data, and then you may just specify the folder. Like here, let's say I have the data which was exported from the Norgate. It's not important, but just to let you know. Then I press OK, and then I press Next. And before I will go there, what is also interesting is that if it happens that you are updating that file, or some other application maybe is updating that file, you may select this automatic quote update, because that means that even if you import data once from the external file, but you will modify that file, application system trader will detect these changes. You don't have to re-import the data. It will just notice that there were some changes, and application will see these changes automatically. Therefore, it's good to have this option selected. Then press Next. And here we can see the symbols, the files, CSV files, comma separated values, the text files in that folder. So for example, if you press Control button, you can specify the files you want to import, or you can press the Shift button and then select everything in one go, and then press here. I will not be doing that for everything, but let's select some file just to explain you how to import it. And again, you have to specify in which group you want to import the data. So let's say that we would like to import it in existing group, and then press Next. And this is very important, because now application reads that file, but we have to explain to System Trader how to read, how to understand such file. So we have to say that, for example, the first column is the date, and it's in the format like year, month, day. Then another column is the open price. Another one is the highest price, the lowest price, and close. It may happen that in some other data sources you may, for example, have also the volume, or if it's intraday data, you may also have the time. For example, if you have a data which is with, let's say, 5-minute intervals. But in the context of this application, you will have typically either daily data or monthly data in most of the case. And once you have all this set it up here, you can just press Next, and it will import it. And it's just finished. And if we go here to the group, we see the groups we have in our application, the folders. We haven't created anything new, but as you maybe remember, I have imported the data into the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Then you have symbols. If you press that here, you will see all the symbols which are in that folder, in that data group. And you can see that we have imported that particular data here. It's not very nice looking because it's some economic data, so it's not really plotting a chart. But of course, if we would import data like, for example, for Apple, we would see the candle chart here. And by the way, as we can see the candle chart here, let's say that, for example, we will take this one. You always see 4 prices. You have the open price, which is that. You have the closing price, which is here. Then you have the lowest price, that line here. And then you have the highest price. So you have the open and close, and it's a white candle. And then you have these lines here for the lowest and the highest price during, in that case, during the day. Okay, let's move further. So I will hide groups and symbols, just clicking on this pin icon. I will close also the chart. And let's move on to another button from the data menu, Metastalk. Metastalk is a third-party application, and the format which is used behind is broadly known and used. So if you have the data in Metastalk format, you have to just specify the folder which contains Metastalk data, and then you can just import it to the application. So it's very straightforward operation. Okay, let's close it. Candle Scanner. If you have Candle Scanner application, which is helping to analyze the candle charts using the candle formations patterns, then if you have such data exported from Candle Scanner application, you can also import it in a similar manner as the Metastalk data. And the same for the CRB Pro. Again, it's a third-party application. If you have data from that application in the CRB format, you can just select the folder in which you have that data. Norgate data. This is the data which has to be paid extra if you want to use it. And if you are, as I said, investing on the American or Australian stock market, then you may be interested in that data. And then in order to use it, you have to install Norgate Updater or Norgate Data Updater. And once you have it on your machine, you can just click on the Norgate data here, and you will see all the watch lists which are there, or you can create your own, and you can just specify which watch list you want to import into the System Trader application. If you don't have Norgate Data Updater installed on your application, you cannot see it. You will not be able to import anything. But even if you are not paying for the data, you can just give it a try. They have a trial version. So if you are really interested about the quality data for American and Australian markets, it may be interesting to you. I will get back to that topic for the Norgate data when I will be discussing advanced equity momentum strategy in the subsequent lessons. Then we have the Stooq. Stooq, it's a portal which is located in Poland, but it covers the data from the whole world. So if you are looking for some data, let's say for ETFs, stocks, indices, or whatever, and you can't find it in some other places, you may try to look into Stooq, because basically they also have a very good data coverage. How it works? Basically, let's move to Stooq maybe. So first of all, stooq.com, this is the address. And there you can just enter anything you want to find. For example, let's say that you want to get the data for the SPY ETF. And you can see here it's listed, so you can just click on it. And once you have such name of the symbol, spy.us, you know that this is supported by the Stooq portal. So if you copy such symbol, you may import it into the application. So you click on the import, and here you have to provide the data either from the file. So let's say that in a file you have the list of symbols which you want to import, or you can just press it here and it will just import data for the SPY ETF for you from the Stooq portal. In a very similar manner, it works for the Yahoo. So again, you may do the same thing here. You just click and you have to provide the name of the symbol you want to import, but now not from Stooq, but from Yahoo. And for example, in Stooq, the SPY symbol was under the symbol spy.us. Here it's just the SPY. So basically, also again, you may be interested about the name of the symbol. So you just see it's SPY. So then you have to just enter the SPY and it will download the data from Yahoo. And also it may update that data in the future if you want so. So I will not be doing that, but in most of the cases, whatever you can find in Stooq or Yahoo, it's also available here. So I would say that in 99% of the cases, you will find data here. And by the way, I am paying for the data. So if you are having any problems with that data source, System Trader, I can write to my data provider and they can add new data or they can fix the problem you have. When you have the problem with Stooq or Yahoo data, I cannot do anything because it's basically free. I don't have any influence on what they provide. Also, you may import ETFs from Yahoo, and it's just an addition here that rather than entering the symbols by hand, you can just select the countries or the markets from which you want to download ETFs. It may be interesting, but as I said again, better quality data, it's in most of the cases under the System Trader button, so I will not be discussing that. And in general, I would say that Stooq and Yahoo, it's a backup data source. So if really something goes wrong, you cannot find maybe something here or there is some outage, then you can just use Stooq or Yahoo. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about these data sources. And another data button, which is just only dedicated to Norgate. So if you have Norgate, you can just select here in what format you want to see the data, either with adjustments or no adjustments. So for example, all data you download for ETFs or stocks from System Trader or Stooq or Yahoo, they are with dividends included and with all the splits. So basically it's a corrected, adjusted data. In Norgate, you can specify if you want to have only the data which is not adjusted for capital reconstructions, like for example dividends and so on. But basically, in most of the cases, whenever we are analyzing anything, we have to have the data which already contains dividends. Again, I will not be discussing that topic now. I will shortly return to that topic when I will be discussing the advanced equity momentum strategy. Okay, so now let's use the data we have in the application and build some very simple portfolio, passive portfolio. Let's say that we want to build a portfolio which contains 80% of S&P 500 and 20% of 10-year treasuries. So let's call it 80-20. And in the money management, let's say we want to start with $100,000. We will not change anything here, but in the entry-exit signals, we will specify two ETFs. The first one in the ETF US, which is already by default in the application. Let's find for the, let's say, for example, IVV ETF, which is replicating the S&P 500. And let's set it for 80% as a weight. And now add another ETF to our application. And now it will be the treasuries, IEF, 7-10-year treasuries. Okay, and let's set it for 20%. So we can see we have 80% of S&P 500 and we have 20% of treasury bonds. Okay, I will not be setting any other details. Let's save it. We can see that portfolio here, and let's backtest it for the all available data. So for that purpose, I'm pressing the test button. And here we go. We can see the results, and as you can see, it goes back to 2002. So basically we have 20 years or so of data, almost 1 years, which is from one point of view quite a long time, but on the other hand, S&P 500 is really having a much longer history than that. But we can see only the last 20 years. We can see all the details as I was discussing in the previous lesson, so I will not be doing that again. But let's say that you would like to see analysis for a much longer period. The problem is that ETFs, in that case for S&P 500 and for the bonds, are only available starting from 2002. But in the application, you can find a built-in reference data. So in order to use it, we have to click on Edit button again for that portfolio 80/20. And let's go again to Entry/Exit Signals. We see, let's make it a bit wider, we see that we have these two ETFs here, but we can also add so-called backfill data, which means that even if ETF is only covering the last 20 years, we can use a built-in into the application reference data, which goes much further than ETF would allow us. So click on these 3 dots here, and you see groups. So we were already touching Dow Jones Industrial Average. We were importing something to ETF US, but there is another one, System Trader. And this group is very special because you will not see it here under groups when you click on that panel on the left. It's a System Trader reference data, which means that it's a built-in data you cannot touch, you cannot delete, you cannot update it. It can be updated automatically by the application because I can update it on my servers, and whenever the application works, it can detect that there is a new data added or some updates are available, but it will happen automatically in the background. You will not even notice it. But what is interesting is that in the System Trader, you have data which really goes back in history much further than ETFs, for example. It goes even to the beginning of the previous century. And for example, for S&P 500, we can select here the S&P 500 total return, which goes back to 1900 year, which is like over 120 years. But what you can find, by the way, here, well, you can find here the major asset classes, the major stock and bond indices. So, for example, you have US large cap value stocks. You have, for example, data about the inflation in United States or in Poland, or you can import your own if you want. You have the Europe, Australasia, and Far East stocks. You have, for example, gold. You have a commodity index, and so on and so forth. I will not be reading all this one by one, but the bottom line here is that in most of the cases, data which is in System Trader is going really very far back in the history, and then it's really great to be used as a so-called backfill. So let's give it a try. I set S&P 500 as a backfill, and now we need also some backfill for the treasury data. So it's a 10-year treasuries. So again, System Trader, and go down, go down, go down, US 10-year government bonds. Let's click OK. And now you can see that you have ETFs here, and you have backfill data here. If we save it and run the simulation again, now the simulation first will run on this data, using this data, the backfill data. And as soon as the data for ETF will be available, it will automatically, and it's transparent to you, switch to ETF data. So let's see how it works in the practice. So again, all data is selected and press test button. And here you go. As you can remember, in the previous simulation, we had the simulation going back to 2002. Now we have the start of the simulation in 1920. So it's like more than 100 years. And it's because we have this backfill data set. So now you can see that we are starting from 1920, whereas in the previous simulation, we were going back to 2002. So this is how the backfill data can be used and how it's helpful, because now you can really make analysis using very, very long time horizons. And just to remind you, the data in the system trader group is not visible here because you cannot delete, you cannot update it, you cannot add anything to it. But I'm managing the data on my servers. So whenever, for example, there is a new data for let's say consumer price index, CPI, inflation for United States, I will be updating that every few months. So basically you will have this data updated automatically. I'm not updating data, for example, for S&P 500 because for that purpose, you have ETFs which are covering the current data, but that data still is very helpful in order to go back long to history, like 1920 year, for example, to have the simulation for a very extensive period of time. So this is basically all I wanted to talk about the data, and I hope that now you have a better understanding how data is used in the System Trader application. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.